So Niger is very, very angry, and they have accused the UN for favoritism. According to Niger, their representative to the UN was not allowed to speak, and by so doing, has hindered the smooth running of the country. So there's this article that explains why the representative from Niger was not allowed to speak at the UN General Assembly. So let's go through this article to know what really happened. The headline reads, Niger's junta accuses United Nations chief of blocking its participation at the General Assembly. The military government that seized power in Niger has accused United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres of obstructing the West African nation's full participation at the UN's annual meeting of world leaders in order to appease France, Niger's former colonizer and its ally. Yeah, many people have made mention of how one-sided the UN is. And people are saying that the UN needs a serious reform because from what people are seeing, the UN is not really catering for the needs of member states, which was its main objective. You have to remember, when the UN was formed, it was meant to look after every single country. It was an organization that was supposed to bring the world together and was supposed to dialogue with each other and was supposed to create an environment where nation states can come together and talk out their issues. If you listen to the speech made by member states who were at the UN summit, you will hear most of them saying that the UN is one-sided, the UN is biased, that the UN preach democracy but practices authoritarianism, that the UN has to be reformed. And it's the same claim that Niger is making. All these people or all these nation states that are saying this cannot all be wrong. This should let you know that the UN needs to be reformed. And if this doesn't happen as soon as possible, people will lose interest in the organization. But let's continue. The decision to not allow the junta's envoy to speak at the UN General Assembly in New York could undermine any effort to end the crisis in our country. Colonel Major Amadou, a spokesman for the officers who deposed Nigerian President Mohamed Bazoum in a July coup, said late Friday. The junta had wanted Niger's former ambassador to the United Nations, Bakari, who was made foreign minister after the coup, to speak on its behalf at the General Assembly. However, Bakari did not receive credentials to attend after the deposed Nigerian government's foreign minister sent the world body a letter informing of the end of functions of Mr. Bakari as permanent representative of Niger to the United Nations. So this was the whole issue that went wrong. Why would they listen to the deposed government of Niger but not the current ruling government? And how can these people be picking and choosing which government to legitimize and which to not? Because I watched the speech of the representative of Gabon. I think their vice president spoke in this UN summit. So this goes to tell you that France is working everything behind the scene. France is making sure that the junta in Niger failed. France is doing everything possible to ensure that nothing work out for the junta in Niger. France has made it their responsibility to punish the people in Niger. You can even see right now how the people in Niger are starving. Even the World Food Program is sounding the alarm. They are saying that due to the blockade of Niger by ECOWAS, many Nigerian children will starve. Why are there not corridors open to let humanitarian aid get in? Why are they blocking this humanitarian aid? These basic things that people need for survival. Why are they doing all this? And you will hear them come to tell us how they are fighting for the interest of the people in Niger. That's what ECOWAS was saying the other time, that whatever they've done and whatever they are doing is for the interest of the people in Niger. And then you ask yourself this simple question: how come all their help and support, how come all their solidarity is instead hurting the people in Niger rather than helping them? How come? If they are really serious with themselves, if they are really honest with themselves, how can they be openly saying that whatever they've done or whatever they are doing is for the interest of the people in Niger, whereby everyone can clearly see how their actions are impacting the people in Niger in a very negative way? How can they claim this? My brothers and sisters, we live in a very complicated time. In a time where people will tell you something and then what you see is totally different. We all must step up. We all must rise up. We all must be able to distinguish between what is in our favor and what is working against us. We must be able to distinguish these two things. But let's continue with the article. The junta spokesman accused the former minister, Hassoumi, of high treason and alleged that Guterres' only interest was keeping with the determination of France and the European Union to punish Niger and its people at all costs for their patriotic choice. Abdramani also accused the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, of interference with the complicity of France and the two French-speaking heads of state of ECOWAS. The Secretary General of the United Nations went astray in the exercises of his mission by obstructing the full participation of Niger in the work of the 78th session of the UN General Assembly. The junta appointed civilians to serve as prime minister and in some other posts as part of the transitional government that it said may remain in place for up to 3 years. But ECOWAS and foreign powers such as France still recognize Bazoum as Niger's rightful leader. The deposed president appealed to the regional court this week to order his release and reinstatement as president. Bazoum took office in 2021 in the country's first transfer of power between elected leaders since the country's independence from France in 1960. ECOWAS has said it considers a military intervention an option for restoring Bazoum as president. Well, if anyone thought that Bazoum was ever going to be president, then they should be thinking all over it because Bazoum is done. Let's be honest about it. Bazoum is done. What we should be thinking about is how to ensure that the military junta do what they said they would do. But just fighting to reinstall or reinstate Bazoum is already a lost cause. And how come Bazoum reinstatement is so important than the millions of Nigerians who are starving? How come ECOWAS is so interested in reinstating Bazoum rather than thinking about the people in Niger? This is crazy. And I'm so grateful that Africans are standing up. I watched the speech made by the representative of Mali to the United Nations and also of Burkina Faso, and they all stood together with Niger. They all echo the plight of the Nigerians. This is a very, very productive thing that is going on in Africa. And we all must join. We all must play our part. But you guys out there, what is your take on what happened at the United Nations General Assembly? Do you think it was just a mistake on the part of the United Nations, or it was all on purpose to silence the military junta in Niger? Let us know in the comment section below, because like always, we love hearing what you have to say. And also, don't forget to like this video, share this video, follow our Facebook page, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel, because little bit of good way, the what you're doing just now, help us a lot, and we shall ever be grateful to you. So thank you very much for doing just that. And like always, see you in the next one.